Hey everybody, it's Miss A, and I'm doing a recap video on a couple of our topics that we were working on. So this is a recap video on triangles. So what I noticed when I was looking at some of the information is that the kids did a really great job with making sure that they we're able to identify the different types of angles. We identify triangles with the attribute of angles. And there are three types of angles that we deal with. We have our right angle, which is the angle that makes the L shape or a perfect square outside. We have acute angles, which are less than 90 degrees. Our right angles are exactly 90 degrees. Acute angles, which are equal to less than 90 degrees. So it can be from 1 degree to 89 degrees. And then we have our obtuse angles, which is 91 degrees to 179 degrees. So that's the variables between there. That's different amounts of the angles. So they have to be able to identify triangles by the types of angles. So first things first, when we have acute triangles, all triangles have three angles. The kids are aware of that. So one of the techniques that I showed them was to circle the angles and look at what's inside. Does that make that perfect boxed in? Does it make a small triangle or does it make a large triangle? Acute triangles have all three angles acute. Now, there are several different names for triangles. But the only name they have to learn is a right triangle. All of the rest, they're just identifying them by their angles. So an acute triangle has all three angles acute. A right triangle, which is one that they are required to know, a right triangle has one angle that is equal to 90 degrees, and you can see it makes that perfect boxed in, and then two acute angles. So this is all three acute. This one is one right and two acute. And then we have our obtuse triangles. And again, we circle all the angles and we look, see how these make little triangles? This makes a larger type of triangle. So this is obtuse triangle. And it's one obtuse angle, two acute. So they do need to remember that. Now, what I noticed from checking the homework and from the assignments that I sent home was that the kids were having difficulty identifying right triangles if they were not facing a certain way. So all of the triangles that were facing like this, that made that perfect box corner to the left, the kids were able to get it right. What they weren't able to get right is if they were facing different directions. Like here. Let me try to draw some bigger ones. So a triangle like this, they were definitely able to identify it because that right angle was to the left. But if, let's say, it was like, I'm using this type of paper just because it's easier to make the angles. But let's say it was like this, or something like, then there was one of these on the homework assignment that was like this. They weren't able to identify them when they weren't facing this way. That seemed to be a common misconception, that right triangles always have to be with that the right angle to the left. They could be any which way. So one of the things I was thinking about, obviously we showed them the circling it and looking to see if it has that perfect end. Now here is a tip that I didn't show the kids that I think that they can actually do that may help them. So I'm going to use just a regular piece of paper here. And as you can see, I've got this angled edge. So what I can do is I can place that paper in the corner, and if it makes that perfect edge, I can see that it's a right triangle. So I see right here, when I place it in this corner, that that paper fits snugly in there, and that would mean that this would be my right triangle. I could do the same thing here. See, look, I place it here, it doesn't work. I place it here and it works. So this is my right angle. Same thing with here. See, I place it up in this corner. This is my right angle. And I can try that, and this is something the students can do. They can rip off an edge of their test. You know, no one's going to say anything if they do that. Now, they can't rip off an edge of their, like, answer sheet, but definitely their test. They could rip that off and use that as their edge. So you see, I put it here. Obviously, this does not fit in there. I can do it this way, and it doesn't fit in there. And if I turn it this way, it does fit snugly in there. So this is my right angle. And same thing here, fits snugly in there. That is my right angle. So that is a little technique that I'd like to that I wanted to show the kids. We just didn't have time to do it in class, and I was thinking about how could I help them get through that so that we don't keep making that same mistake, because that seemed to be an overarching mistake for pretty much most of the kids, is that when that right triangle is facing a different direction, for some reason they're not able to recognize it. Rip off an edge of your paper, use that perfect right corner, because all papers have right corner, or all papers have that pizza box edge, and use it to help you identify those right triangles. And you can see I'll draw one that's not a right triangle. And as you can see, if I place it here, you see how it goes in a little bit? So that one's not a right triangle. It's slightly off, just a little bit. And draw one here. And you see if I put it here, obviously that's not a right triangle. And then I would have to turn my paper. And you always want to place one of your vertexes on the line, and I can see that through there. And the same thing here, so I can tell that's not a right triangle. And the same thing here. You can see this is not a right triangle, but when I place it here, and once I place it here, I can see that this is an obtuse angle. I don't even have to check the other angles, because remember, if I find an obtuse, there's one obtuse and two acute. If I find, and then if they're acute, I would have to check all three, because there are two acutes and one right. But if I find that obtuse, there's no way there could be a right triangle or a right angle in there. I hope this video helps. I hope everybody's safe. Kids, please listen to your parents. Take every bit of this very serious. It's going to be scary. Love you, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.